Hey, what's up everybody? It's Leeds and we're back for some more Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, taking requests from you all in chat when it comes to our characters, weapons, enemies, and arenas. As we've been saying as of late, what with us having fairly recently still just unlocked the last of the various ultra rare weapon upgrades and of course characters a fair while ago, we no longer have anything major to do with our credits or mission funds, and if we want any confirmation, we have gone through and double checked that we have unlocked every ultra rare weapon variety. But in case we miscounted, in case we missed something, we could right now cash in the mission funds that we, technically could use for things like character respec cards or experience enhancers or revive packs, but, just out of curiosity, let's pick one of these up and see what happens. Theoretically, assuming that we have, in fact, gotten all the ultra-rare weapons, it should just give us a whole lot of nothing. Technically, we'd be throwing away 960 mission funds, but, as I said, we don't really have any need for them anyway, so this is just to be absolutely certain. Oh! Okay, admittedly, I did not know that was gonna happen. I think I just assumed it was gonna be blank. I was kind of surprised that anything showed up at all. I think I remembered someone saying that it does take your mission funds, so I expected that it was just gonna be, basically throwing our money into a shredder or something like that. But, our in-game money, of course. In-game currency, really. But, I did not think we were getting anything at all in return from that. So then when I saw that it had, doesn't it have a glow? I think it had the glow as if it was an ultra rare of some variety, and I thought, what the heck? What's going on here? Technically it is useful, yes, but, it probably still wildly overpriced. So I don't think we'll be making a point of doing that anytime in the future, but now we know. And in case you questioned whether we had counted correctly, no, there is the absolute certainty that we have, in fact, gotten all the ultra-rare weapons. Alright, well, as for the dailies today, yeah, it's mostly for mission funds. It does also make your Apex rating go up more quickly. Neither of those things are especially meaningful, at least to me right now, but, if we have anyone else in chat who wants to hop in, who is eyeing these two things, it would be gold waves and magma waves. I'm happy to help out with one or both of those, if we do have anyone who'd like to hop on in for that stuff. And then I suppose we can also take a quick look. Oh. I do think that's the easiest combination of both character and map. However, the same cannot be said for what that modifier is. Some say it's the most difficult. Generally, I would still put One Life to Live in the #1 spot there, but it's awfully close, and in any given match, it could go either way. So, yeah, Glassjaw is not what you want to see here. And then, okay, even just dropping down one difficulty to gold, it's usually considerably more manageable. Sure, I'm not the biggest fan of sniper rifles, but that's definitely doable, and then from here on out, certainly can do the silver or the bronze. So let me hop into Discord before I forget, because otherwise I definitely will. There we go. Okay. But let me know if there's anyone who would like to join me for, as I said, could be a combination of Apex missions we were just looking at. It could be the Prestige dailies. It could be none of the above. Whatever you guys would like. It is late enough at this point that, yes, I imagine at least the masses have already finished perhaps both the Prestige dailies and many of the Apex missions as well, but, we can just go with the flow. Take on whatever we feel like taking on. At least for now, with that in mind. This is weird, because now, under other circumstances, in the not-so-distant past, I would have said, oh, well, we're logging on a little bit late tonight. It might be a little bit tricky to find a gold magma lobby, but let's see if we can make it happen, and maybe we'll, if absolutely necessary, we'll start a lobby like that ourselves, and maybe do the first 1 or 2 waves solo, and just hope that someone joins us partway through, but kind of just don't need to worry about that right now, which is weird. What do we do in that case? I don't understand. I don't understand. We just see if anyone's doing it. Oh. Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we can hop into this pre-existing Plat Apex lobby. Now, I have no idea how far along they are in this mission right now, so usually this is the circumstance under which you kind of just want to get in as quickly as possible, because for all I know, that little dilly-dally just then is the difference between making it in time and not making it in time. Also, they could be, even if they still have 1 or 2 waves left, do we really want to be blowing through our biggest consumables for that? Probably not. One of the consumables was big, the other not as much so, but they're on wave 5, so yeah, they are pretty close, but not quite done. It seems like it's the end of the wave. Oh, dear. I was gonna say, I don't see any enemies until this guy shows up. I certainly see them now. Guessing he's the last one? Indeed, he says as he headbutts the microphone. Okay, well, so had we known that, perhaps we would have been a little more efficient by not using quite as aggressive consumables, but alas, we're here now, and usually you would say 1 life to live and or last jaw. Those are the ones that you would be most... It is most valid to use those big consumables for. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm not really sure we can complain. And in case you're wondering, no, that was not deliberate. I did legitimately just accidentally fall down there. Okay, now this guy's a problem, though, for a variety of reasons. One, he would be keen on meleeing us, which is not good. Also, he is the single tankiest enemy in the game, which means you definitely don't want him hanging out near the hack, because if he goes in there, it's going to take a long time to get him out. So I'm deliberately trying to get his attention and prevent him from going in there, but hack is over. There we go. So yeah, that was deliberate, going out of the hack circle on that occasion. We were close. Just doing enough to help our teammates get across the finish line with it. What's up, Sultan? How's it going? Got Andromeda, but can't really play multiplayer? Ooh. I'm not sure I'm familiar with this dynamic you seem to be describing. Also, I am somewhat cognizant of how I do have a behemoth that is quite interested in feeding my face into this steel here. So I feel as though I don't have the opportunity to read it as closely as I would like to at this moment. Yay, sanction on your country. Yikes. Yeah, that is unfortunate. That's just with the multiplayer? But the campaign is fine from that standpoint? What's up, Nicholas? How's it going? Ooh, I totally thought we got the guy already. There. VPN does technically add ping. I mean, I guess that makes sense. in a way, kinda, sorta, but I'm not exactly an expert on these things, so... Don't do that. Is he trying to attack the defendant? Invisible enemy goes down.
They've got a Hydra!
Ooh, that could go. Please don't do that. Out. Ooh, had mandatory overtime on work? Yeah, that's tough. But glad you're back now.
Get out of here!
Work is done. Ooh. Please don't do that. Or whatever that was that you were just starting to do that I couldn't really see.
Incoming!
Wait. There are rockets headed my way. There we go. We got, what, the last 2/7? Less than that, really, of the flat apex mission there. Which would have otherwise been pretty nasty and wasn't so bad on this occasion. Granted, yeah, you know, our teammates had already done the brunt of the work by the time we got into the match. Alright, well, as I was saying, let me know if anyone is interested in getting in from chat. Happy to get a lobby started with you guys in that case. Otherwise, if not, a win's a win, right? If not, if these guys do stick around, I have played a bunch of matches with all of them, so could certainly stick around with them. And since we, sure, I mean, we could try to make a point of doing the prestige dailies, but as I was just saying a minute ago, it kinda doesn't matter. Well, they have all abandoned ship, and my guess is that they had just finished their prestige dailies and then done the flat apex, and so we were just catching them at the end of their rotation. What if we just leave this lobby and continue searching for platinum matches and continue to join people right as they're about to finish the flat apex, and we just farm it that way? Technically, that would be the most efficient... Technically, that would be the most efficient way to generate XP and credits. Not that we really need it. Also, we're not going to successfully load into this one. But that's awfully brave. Doing the Last Jaw flat apex mission solo. Sometimes if you leave and then re-enter multiplayer, it fixes that issue, but just give that a quick shot. See if that does anything for us. And if we can't make that work, then obviously we could join a different lobby if there are any others that are running right now, or we can keep it simple and run our own. Let's see. Will we manage to get in this time? perhaps, at least at the moment, looks like we may have loaded in successfully. It does make me a little hesitant to commit some of the higher powered gear that we were just talking about a minute ago, when we may find ourselves more likely to disconnect from this match than we otherwise would be. Right on cue? I think so. We didn't start up the match yet. I was just pressing the confirmation button to equip our gear, but game seems to have decided to kick us out. That's weird. Oh, no. This is the page that would usually kick you out too, except it would typically have the little text box that pops up giving you at least some explanation saying that you disconnected from the lobby, and I don't think I saw that. So that was strange. The timing was, yeah, I mean, a little bit dramatic as well, but that is why I was a little hesitant to throw on the very gear that I was starting to throw on. Try this one more time, out of curiosity. Same person. Again, our name card and character preview are showing up this time, which would suggest that we do have a higher probability of being able to actually maintain connection in the lobby, unlike the first time where neither of those things loaded in, and that was a clear sign that we were not going to be able to stick around. And now we don't need to spend time putting the... Oh, actually, it didn't even save the consumables. Well, you know, that's... I was going to say, we already have the consumables, so we don't need to worry about spending time setting those up. And therefore we could try hopping straight in, and maybe we would stick around long enough that we could do something before we disconnect. But then, obviously what I was about to describe was not actually the case. So, it was kind of a moot point. Now, I'm deliberately not going to throw on our best gear. Oh, okay, well, they either just finished their match, or they were unsuccessful, and they are starting anew. So I just realized they are technically in the lobby with us right now. They are not yet in this game, or they are not anymore in this game, is maybe the more accurate way of describing that. So this could be a bit painful with just two on Glassjaw, but it is on PC. Rob, I mean, if you are on PC yourself and you'd like to try hopping in, you're welcome to. Feel like I have seen this person's name before. I think I have done some matches with them in the past, but don't remember what those experiences were like. Theoretically, this lobby is public right now. It is the Platinum Apex, which is Sandstorm, Ket, Glassjaw. So if you are on PC, you or anyone else, you're welcome to search for this, and you theoretically should be able to find us that way. And I would encourage you to do so in a way if you're comfortable with Platinum, and arguably the most difficult Platinum mission at that, at least modifier-wise, because with two people, this is probably about to become very painful. I think we are probably more likely to fail this mission than we are to succeed, but we're going to give it a shot. So rule number 1. Don't let any enemies come anywhere near you. And that's pretty much it.
Kind of miss playing Biotoball back home.
There is a modifier for the mission. It's called Glassjaw. And what that does is it makes any enemy melee damage do 1,000% increased damage. Is that the number? It's some absolutely ludicrous amount of bonus damage that enemies get from melee damage. And functionally, what that means is that if I shoot the shield that bounces my gunfire straight back at me, I will kill myself, or nearly kill myself, and technically get the final
One's on me.
hit from something else. But basically, if an enemy melees you, you're getting one shot. Or if not, you are surviving on the tiniest sliver of health. Now, I would demonstrate, but I'd rather not, if we don't absolutely have to, and it's probably going to happen at some point, so just give it a little bit of time. I think you'll have what you're looking for. They survived that one. We technically did not get hit there, but it certainly instills fear in you as a player. All those dog-like enemies you might not think much of in a standard match suddenly become your worst nightmare, like that.
Teammate injured.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think the Invisidogs, and even the non-invisible ones, the oddies, they just sometimes whoa. It's good old-fashioned off-post magic for you right there. I'm just gonna get some grenades before this wave ends. But even the oddies, the ones that don't disappear, they can sneak up on you sometimes if you aren't paying close enough attention. And even enemies that you don't usually think of as being melee-oriented enemies,
Keep your guard up.
Good game.
they,
Good game.
almost everyone has a basic attack of some, basic melee attack of some variety, if they do truly get into melee range. And it doesn't matter who it is.
Recovery requested. Okay.
If they're getting that big of a damage multiplier,
On it.
they're either going to one-shot you, or they're going to drop you down to the tiniest sliver of health. So, basically,
Got the drop.
you just can't let anyone come anywhere near you, is the takeaway. And that is, at times, far easier said than done. We got very lucky with this first objective, I will not hesitate to say, as pizza is certainly the easiest of all the different options, and does not require any combat whatsoever, per se.
Hang in there, Apex.
That's why
Artifact is secure.
I'm just going to deliberately ignore enemies and try to get this done as quickly as possible.
I'm reading a flat line.
Yep.
Artifact
Not
recovery is
surprised to
complete. Nice job.
see these guys next to you. There's your example. See how much health we have right now? Not a coincidence. Doesn't matter what type of melee attack it is, either it's killing you or I meant it. I said, you live
Field down.
only by a sliver. In some cases, there may also...
Teammate injured.
I know what that was that finished. Yeah, it was primarily the Ascendant Orb, but then I got poked. Saboteur gunshot. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Too busy dying. Oh dear. Yeah, there definitely are some types of missions that
Get him.
are better or worse for some types of characters than others. It is not a coincidence that I took a character who theoretically could be invisible for the entirety of the match. Oh, looks like we may have just gotten someone else. I don't know if I've seen that person before. I don't think I recognize their name.
Down one.
As said, the Jerry person, I pretty sure once upon a time, at least, that I'd played some matches with. What's up, Roach? How's it going? You would think that there's shield gate such that you can survive. However, it seems that at a certain point, the enemy's damage multiplier gets so big that the enemies just go, shield gate, who needs it? So, for example, we have gotten meleeed, I think, precisely once thus far. It was from the Wraith, the Invisidog, very soon after we revived our teammate who went down to the Wraith. It didn't kill us, but it removed all of our shields and 98% of our health, which does suggest that it ignored, or at least almost completely ignored, shield gate. I mean, shield gate would suggest that you'd lose all of your shields, but you'd still have full health, and then you'd have to take another hit before you started taking any damage to your health. But there might be shield damage mitigation, if you get what I'm trying to say. You have some shields that might do just enough. It might actually reduce the total damage to an extent. That might be why you sometimes do survive on a tiny sliver rather than just go straight down.
One lonely target.
But it is not necessarily going to save you every time. Not necessarily something you can rely on. I'm doing all right, Roach. We are doing the Platinum Apex, technically the second time doing the Platinum Apex mission right now. It is Glass Jaw, one that gives the enemies the absolutely ridiculous melee damage multiplier. That's what we've been chatting
Shields
about.
down.
And we are doing it with what is more or less a random group of strangers. I do recognize this guy's name here, but we're just pugging it up, so it's a coincidence that we ended up seeing him. And the other person I don't think I've ever played with. Right? Kinda.
Incoming.
Like, if I let this guy melee me, we're in trouble. But granted, if I get mowed down by
Oops.
the minigun
Shields down.
dude, that also is probably not a great idea either. Do I recognize this person's name?
Thank you.
Ooh, okay, well that's not what I wanted to see up there. I was about to jump up there. As I say, there's maybe one enemy that doesn't have a melee in the entire game. The observers. That might be it. So anyone else, even if you don't really think of them as being a primarily melee enemy,
Oops. Shields down.
give them long enough standing next to you and they will probably slap you in the face, and it will probably be lethal. Certainly if you have a tiny sliver of health like this. Why is that hitting him but not doing damage? Oh, that's because he's bugged and still has sphere. Oh. Adios. They did a gold glacier match in 12 and a half minutes today. Well done. Did you have I mean, glacier is definitely the fastest map. but you're not going to get 12 and a half minutes unless you're making a pretty concerted effort. So I take that to mean you were coming in with the intention and a plan to try to do a fast match.
Shields down.
Ooh, yep. I was hoping I was going to get behind cover a little more quickly than that. So what was the speed running strat on this occasion, Roach?
How will I pay you back?
Ooh, that's also a good sign. Excuse me, sir. Please do not dodge attacks. I find that to be quite disrespectful in my culture. The other thing that I'm noticing, which is in part because at least initially this was a duo, and the other person who was duoing with us is also an infiltrator who is theoretically capable of being invisible for the entire match. I don't know our third person. I don't think they are, but the moment I go uncloaked, I immediately have every single enemy attacking me, it seems. We may also have the bug that makes us take significantly more damage than we're supposed to take. So yes, this is platinum, but we are still going down faster than I think the math should be saying we ought to go down. So we've been, those few occasions, targeted by the minigun dudes, the anointed, but shouldn't have been able to get us that quickly, even under those circumstances.
Almost there.
Our build, well, we're the Asari Huntress, and the whole basis of our build is stun. Basically what I just did there. It's shoot enemy until shields are gone, and then follow up with alternating lance and throw, which both detonate the tech combos. So between the disruptor ammo from our weapon itself, that can stun enemies, then the tech explosion will also stun enemies. So across those two things, we can stun enemies almost permanently is a strong way to phrase it, but we can repeatedly stun enemies. In some cases, enough so that we can take them out without them ever getting the chance to hit us back. But as soon as we have multiple enemies attacking us simultaneously, then that becomes a problem, because we cannot stun lock multiple people at the same time. Technically we can with the tech combos, but the weapon component, at least, can only do one at a time. And then when we aren't doing that, we have Stealth Grid, which is our grenade-based tactical cloak that you just saw me use there. And because that is grenade-based rather than cooldown-based, it means as long as we are remaining fairly mobile, going from ammo box to ammo box, we theoretically can remain invisible for most, if not potentially even all, of the match. And so that is useful both for completing objectives, like the ones that we were just doing and potentially will continue to do here, if I can parkour correctly. But it also just means we're much safer, especially in a match like this, where any enemy that can see you can potentially walk up and melee you, which means you're dead. So it's in that way, between the stuns and the invisibility, it is a very safe build. There aren't many ways in which, there aren't many times when enemies can attack us, unless there are multiple enemies going after us at once, or someone sneaks up on me and I don't see them, so I cannot do all those stunning techniques. So that's the gist of it. I do think it's probably my favorite build, and I would argue, if not it's the strongest for at least some circumstances, some uses. It is among the 2 or 3 just absolutely bonkers, busted, overpowered types of builds. I mean, characters in general, yes, but builds in the game, if you want to call specifically hunters with disruptor ammo to be enough to be considered a full-blown build, so to speak. Here, shoot shields, set off combo, enemy dead, rinse repeat. As long as it's one at a time, it's okay. Here, there are multiple enemies who could have meleeed me, which would have been very dangerous, but by being invisible, with stealth grid, we can play much more safely. So, both sides of the equation there. First place was Geth Infiltrator with Widow. Second was Asari Valkyrie with Rieger. Third, Batarian Soldier Wraith, which I'm guessing was you. I know Batarian Soldier is your favorite. I feel like I've seen you use Wraith specifically as well. Potentially even on that character. And then fourth was a Geth Engineer with... We're not going to talk about that last character. We're certainly not going to talk about that last character's weapon. I can tell you one thing, Roach. There's definitely a way in which you can make that team even faster. Oh, no worries, Rob. Yeah, we just happened to find ourselves here in this match for now. In part because we didn't have anything in particular that we were targeting. However, if you are interested in getting in later on, but you just aren't keen on doing Platinum, or specifically the Plat Apex, then we can certainly get you in and do whatever difficulty and or setup you like.
I've got you.
Oh, hello.
Oops.
Yeah,
Shields down.
I think that does count as melee, which is why I'm surprised I didn't die quicker, because I did get hit without dying initially. Few things that are deceptively still considered melee. Sent a post-match screenshot. Nice. Okay, time to go.
Let's get out of here.
Ooh, careful now. Everybody down. There we go. W's in the chat. No, that's not necessary. I appreciate that, but thank you. Oh, was that you joining in the last round for the free XP? Hold on. The strategic entry near the end. Well done. But yeah, as I said, happy to do matches on whatever difficulty you'd like. Take it to mean this is... Oh, yeah, this... Perhaps you may now be the host? Perhaps? Thank you for the W's. I was kidding. I only said it because I saw Rob do it, but... So yeah, Rob, I'm up for, assuming this is you who's now the host, I'm up for whatever you'd like, whatever difficulty, enemy, arena, if you want to do an Apex of some variety, whatever you like. Whatever you like. Sniper rifle skirmish. May proceed to ignore the fact that this is a sniper rifle skirmish, but that's not important, okay? We don't need to worry about that. What enemy is it? It's Outlaw? Ooh, we may have lost our amigos here. We're gonna leave and join back? Okay, no worries. Well, it looks like we do have room now, if there is anyone else who would like to get in. I assume Rob will be reclaiming one of the spots. We would still have room for a couple more if anyone else would like. As I was saying, we could do potentially anything here. Seems Rob may have been interested in doing the Gold Apex, so that might be next on the agenda, but that may also still be to be determined. Yeah, no worries. No worries. Also, if anyone is, like Rob, I don't know if you're in N7S Discord or not, but if you are, you're welcome to get in here. Let me see. This is what, I was right, Roach. You were the Batarian soldier with the Wraith, weren't you? I knew it. I knew it. Just want as many credits as possible, but... Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, whenever you want. We can certainly try to do something to farm you up some credits. There you are. I think. If we have anyone else... Technically, the more people we have in the lobby, the more credits we get. It's not a huge difference, but, like, technically it does give you a little bit more. So, there is something to be said. Or if we can get one or two more people, it also does make it, in all likelihood, a little bit easier to push the higher difficulties, but we can go with whatever. I forget, Roach, I think we've done at least one random rank together where we randomize from your ranked list of characters and weapons, although if I remember correctly, you may have drawn from other people's ranked lists. I'm just saying, perhaps the time has come for you to make a list of your own, and I am pretty sure what's at the top of that list. Right? I think you've done several at this point, but I don't know if you've ever done one. I don't think you've made a list yourself. Maybe you've done one where you just went off the vibes. Okay. Anyways, as for this one, it's Icebreaker, it's Outlaw, it's Gold, it's the Sniper Rifle Skirmish. So if we're thinking we're going this route, what shall we do? What shall we do? Paladin? Paladin's what is your... There are so many ways you can do the Paladin, to be honest. Because everything... Okay, I guess it's hard to be a pure energy drain character, but you could spam Snap Freeze, you can use a bunch of Incinerate, you can do a bunch of melee, you could play him as a weapons platform. There's just... Yeah, obviously, basically all those things can combine for combos. what's your preferred way to paladin it up? As I try to figure out what my preferred way is in this match. I think I probably should do this. This, and then I will ignore the whole sniper rifle thing. That's okay. Electra SMG spam combos. Good answer. Good answer. Melee is fun as well. Yeah. Just don't melee any Seeker Swarms with your Cryo Shield. Remember not to do that. Yeah, I think this is a little later than people would usually. I mean, obviously it's a weekend, so there's potentially people going a little later than usual, but for the most part, dailies reset almost 3 hours ago at this point. So typically speaking, on a sort of standard day, there's a rhythm to it where there are a bunch of people who log on as soon as the dailies reset. They immediately do those dailies, then oftentimes do the new Plat Apex immediately after they've done the dailies. That also resets at the same time of the day, every day. And then once that happens, generally they'll log off. So there's like a 45-minute to 1 hour window that is basically the same time every day, where you get a surge of players, and then they usually fairly quickly log off after that once they're done with getting those dailies. So since we are now past that window, we have, by and large, already seen that group come and go, I believe. Okay, well, I think I'm good whenever you are here. I'll take Harrier is overrated. I've never really been a Harrier person much myself. Admittedly, I just never really used it very often. Obviously, it's well known for its fantastic offensive power, but at the same time, its frustrating lack of ammo. But if you can find a character who, for whatever reason, can mitigate those ammo concerns, then it can just become really strong. Did I tab out? Oh yes, I did tab out. I don't remember what for, but that's where the audio went.
Hostile territory, people. Secure this position and stay sharp.
I'm also a big fan of the Lancer. That is very high on my list. I need to kind of make a point of not constantly cloaking, otherwise you will hate me, because all the enemies will be attacking you. Where did you go? There you are.
Thanks for the assist.
Uh-oh, shields down.
Ooh, this one. Ooh, I did not see you soon enough.
Uh-oh, shields down.
Definitely bet. It has a... It's just really well balanced. Good damage, good accuracy, good ammo, at least if you put the right weapon mods on it. It's not too heavy, so it works with power builds, as you're saying. So it may not be the absolute best at any one of those things, but it just does everything more than good, more than well enough, while at the same time not locking you in to feeling like you have to play as a power character because it's light enough. Or rather, not locking you in so that you feel like you have to play a weapons-only character. Because some weapons are so heavy that it feels like you're at a distinct disadvantage. You go,
Enemies incoming.
if you use them and still try to go the power route. Lancer does not usually have that issue. As someone who generally prefers to go more so on the power side of things, rather than being a pure weapons player, you like having kind of the best of both worlds. Yeah, and you do kind of need to put that thermal mod on no matter what, 'cause that is how you make the ammo become decent. It's a bit unfortunate, but ultimately it's just one ammo mod. That might make it a little harder to, say, squeeze on piercing in addition to whatever other sources of probably damage you would typically like to have. I mean, piercing can also give damage against armored enemies, yes, but you know, you usually like to combine
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
piercing and just pure damage. Technically, you can do that with the heaviest of the barrels. I don't remember.
Stay sharp.
For some of the weapon categories, it gives both damage and piercing, but I don't remember which ones that is. I don't think that is actually the case for all of them. But, anyways. So yeah, you might need to commit one
Intelligence needs data from your
ammo
location.
mod to something you wouldn't otherwise have taken, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge sacrifice to have to make. You know, you're probably doing similar things for the likes of the Hurricane, the Collector SMG, and you don't usually hear people complaining that those weapons are too weak.
Teammate injured.
Yeah, I think usually what ends up happening for me is I tend to take the Lancer on characters that already have priming. Wait. Sorry, I'm distracted by that and not thinking straight from a Mass Effect 3 standpoint. Did what I just said make any sense whatsoever? How does what's priming have to do with that? Oh,
Data's received.
they already have priming. Here's the logic. Chain of logic here. Usually use the Lancer on characters that already have priming. Therefore, I'm not looking for priming ammo. Therefore, I can take armor-piercing ammo. Therefore, it is not a big deal that I have to skip
Go get
an
'em.
armor-piercing weapon mod. That was where I was going with that.
Good. Stay sharp.
We're talking ME3 in this circumstance, worst one, we
Hostiles
think?
en route.
If you use custom key bindings, then that's perfectly understandable that Talon, therefore, gets a pretty huge demerit. Personally, I do not use custom key bindings, so at least for, not for ME3 or for Andromeda. Andromeda I play on controller, whereas ME3 I use keyboard mouse, so it's a different setup. But in both cases, it's still just the default key bindings. But since I don't use default key bindings, I don't have that issue with the Talon Merc. So I do enjoy playing them for that reason. Or I don't have the main problem that people who take issue with the Talon Merc typically have. So for that reason, I don't hate him. And gameplay-wise, I do think he is fun because he has some pretty crazy either burst damage skills or physics skills.
3 more to go.
Which are fun to mess around with. There are some pretty memey things you can do with the trip mines as well. I mean, technically he does have a melee, it's just that his melee doesn't look like a melee. The Omnibow does count as melee.
Big scary Hydra.
It is also... I know. I'm just saying. It may not look or feel like it's melee, but technically, I believe it does qualify as a melee ability. And it is more difficult to get the grabs with him as well. It may seem impossible. There is a trick. It takes some getting used to / remembering. As long as you do, you can still get grabs with him, which, if he couldn't get grabs, then yeah, that would be a huge concern, of course. We just can't be having that. What's my favorite thing?
Enemies clear.
Ooh.
Stay alert.
I'd have to think about that. I don't know if I have a...
We've got major enemy targets nearby. Let's take
I
them out.
don't know if I have a particular one in mind. I would probably have to go through melee by melee to think about it. I mean, I love the Batarian melee, and at times Batarian Gauntlet. Is that my favorite? Oh, the Batarian light melee with a pistol. Light melee combo pistol or SMG. That's probably up there. There's some underrated ones as well. I mean, there's the Based Human Adept heavy melee, which has crazy physics. There's the Orcha light melee, just single, not even the combo. Technically, I think light melee combo does this as well, though. It has a very surprising amount of force to it as well, and it comes from a slap, which just makes it that much more alarming when enemies do go flying from it. You have truly crazy melees, like dodge melees. But yeah, that does feel like maybe that's enough of an edge case that may not qualify. Oh, there's still... Oh, that is the target. I was about to say.
Take that target down.
One moment.
You got them all.
On my way. I'm sure I'm forgetting others as well. Obviously, there's the Warlord. The Drell can do some silly things with their flips. The AIU, both heavy melee for physics and light melee for the flips / spinny kicks.
Go get them.
Still probably forgetting some.
That hurt though. Be ready.
I mean, then, you know, the grabs are kind of in their own category. But I think that one
Shuttle incoming. Get to the extraction
probably has a pretty clear-cut number one. Don't know if anyone is beating the Torture Grab. Oh, and then there's Volus Bubble Melee. There's Volus Batarian Gauntlet, which is funny. but just the standard bubble melee is pretty funny as well. Then you have other ones that, depending on how you classify them, may or may not even count. Like, for example, the Havoc Trooper, Havoc Strike / Heavy Melee combo. What does that count as? I don't know. Considering that a melee, I don't think that one would be my favorite. I mess around with that every once in a while, but I don't think it'd be that high up on my list. But just another wonky one.
Shields down.
Yeah, the non-Juggernaut heavy melee. Is that what you're referring to? The more standard Geth heavy melee? Or are we talking Juggernauts? Okay. Yeah, that one's interesting because it's definitely one of the strongest, but it does come at a cost, given how it depletes your shields. And then if you have some bolus battery packs on hand, it becomes much more manageable. Then you have technically the highest melee damage character. Everybody say it with me. 3, 2, 1. Quarian female infiltrator. Yes, I know. That's what everyone was thinking, right? It is true. Oh, but then you have the... I am a big fan of the Shadow as well. You have the... I'm not a huge fan of the light melee combo. I tend to find that's pretty clunky and gets me into more trouble than it's worth. But the heavy melee is fun. And then you also have, of course, Shadow Strike, which we may or may not be counting. Battlefield Soldier? Is it much different from the base human soldier? Battlefield 3 melee? I honestly don't remember. Demolisher hit 5 people at once? Can she really? And then you have the largest area of effect melee, which is the... Actually, might be the Awakened Collector light melee, but that's either close or it might be just behind in second. What I was thinking of was the Destroyer Stomp, the N7 Destroyer Stomp. If Slasher said it, I believe it. When it comes to melee, he is definitely the expert. I mean, it's not the most exciting character, but it gets the job done. If you're looking for a relatively simple, straightforward experience, then there's nothing wrong with going that route. But yeah, he's quite similar to the base human soldier, and in many cases, yeah, people may just prefer the base human soldier. I do still think it's technically the closest character to James from ME3, who oftentimes seemingly instead gets categorized as the either base human soldier or as the N7 destroyer. But powers-wise, I think the Battlefield 3 soldier is actually the closest. Or is tied. Alright, well that was the gold Apex. If if you'd like, Rob, we can go down the list. Do silver and bronze if you'd like. Those, of course, being lower difficulties, they'll give you the mission funds because they're the Apex missions, but they will not give you as many credits. So if the primary thought is you want to maximize the credits, then we may be better sticking on gold. But I defer to you, whatever you prefer. Gold works. Yeah. Let's see, double check. Gold Magma is the prestige daily, so we might as well do that in that case. Out of topic, getting an N7 challenge is sure. Got everything else. Is that the... Which one is that? Is that the... There's the Lone Soldier one, which requires all the solo stuff. It's not that. It's the promo... Oh, that one's a grind. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I see what you're saying. It teases you as well. The way that the game calculates your progression for that is just mathematically all wrong. It makes you think you're much closer to finishing it than you actually are, which is a bit of a tease as well. Probably makes it feel longer than it actually is, and it already is very long. Something tells me you have experienced this. Perhaps you have thought the same exact thought. I think that character there, of all the ultra rare characters, that might be my favorite. Might even... Oh, I did not mean to do that. Hold on. Not mean to switch characters. It might be my favorite. I might even argue it's the best. Depending on the difficulty. Certainly on the lower difficulties, it is arguably... It's pretty hard to argue against it being the best character on... Certainly bronze and silver, maybe gold, it's more debatable. Plat, it's definitely does have a bigger drop, perhaps the biggest drop off, but it's a fun one. Definitely, the survivability is tough. And that is why the drop off is pretty steep. Certainly on plat, to an extent on gold, but on bronze, usually on silver, and potentially even on gold, you can just have your defensive strategy be all-out offense. And yeah, occasionally you'll get in trouble,
You know the drill. Hold this
but
position, clear out enemy forces. Let's do it.
it can work. Sometimes there are prestige dailies for bronze or silver, or maybe you're doing one of the Apex missions. Those would probably be the main reasons. Maybe you're doing a solo. Well, agree to disagree there. I was definitely a late adopter of Andromeda multiplayer. However, I played many hours farming a whole lot on primarily plat and gold, almost exclusively plat and gold. Pretty much every day for 3 years. I really did not take off days. Even when I was tired, even when I was sick, sometimes probably even when I was, you know, traveling, I'd rush back in time to get stuff done. Like, I was pretty darn committed to grinding it as quickly as possible, and it still took me seemingly longer than everyone else who I played with, at least if you consider time based on... If you use Apex rating as a proxy for how many matches someone has played, which obviously is not a perfect metric by any means, but it might be the closest thing that you can easily get. I think, yeah, I maxed everything out at only did so a few weeks ago. So at around the 120,000 Apex rating mark, when I'm pretty sure I've seen people, perhaps most people, maxing things out at about half that number. So that, at least from what I can tell, suggests that it took me quite a bit longer, for whatever reason, to hit the max manifest, all the character and weapon unlocks, than it did for other people.
We've got major enemy targets nearby. Let's take them out.
Bronze and ME3's easiest difficulty to get characters glitched? Do explain, please. What do you mean by this, Roche?
Target eliminated. Target down.
Oh, with that, okay. Punch me, / bite you when I'm in the middle of flamethrowering Sprogan Santa.
Target eliminated. Well done. Squad member down.
No, stop that. You don't sneak up behind me.
Teammate injured. Nice job, Apex. Keep it going. Hostiles en route.
Dead. Oh, you're still alive. There we go. did the things that I was
Squad
telling you to
member
do when
down.
I pressed the buttons. Thank you.
3 left. Go get 'em. Enemies cleared. Stay alert. Enemies headed your way.
There you go. No, I did not.
Teammate injured.
One moment. Ooh, that hurt. That hurt a lot. That's also gonna hurt.
Squad member down.
You know, serious mistakes were made.
Squad member down.
Oh, you won.
That was so fast. Ow.
Three more to go. Sensors clear for now. Great shooting. Enemies triangulating our nearest outpost. Find their sensor arrays and get them broken. One device down. One problem gone. Squad member down.
No, not the baby cowboys.
Squad member down. Nearly through. Squad member down.
Sorry, I have to get the device first.
Enemy tech is deactivated.
On my way.
Objective complete.
So is our teammate. I'll get rid of these guys. Oh, okay, that guy's gonna take a little bit longer.
Shields are gone. Assistant.
Three left. Go get 'em.
Okay. But you trapped me, practically. For a second there, I legitimately thought I was gonna be stopped.
Nice job, Apex. Keep it going. Shuttle incoming. Get to the extraction zone.
Send it in the house.
He is an ascendant. Something. Oh,
Let me help.
I don't know if this is them. What is happening? There we go.
Uh-oh, shields down.
So out. Yeah, please
Squad
don't do
member
that.
down.
Much obliged.
Thank you.
Teammate injured.
Spark of Hope challenge. I don't
I'm reading a flatline.
recognize that one by name. I
Teammate
did not
injured.
know that one. Whoa.
Uh-oh, shields down.
Mission complete. Full team secured. Good work.
GG. Well done, Rob. One moment, my microphone is being uncooperative. Theoretically, I think it may or may not have been making buzzing sounds, which is not supposed to happen. But Rob, to answer your question from before, have you ever looked at, if you go to the Prestige page, then Challenges, you will always see there are 2 dailies. So today, and they randomly rotate from one day to the next. There are several different things they can be. So today we have gold waves and we have magma waves. So basically 2 full matches worth of gold and 2 full matches worth of waves on that map where we just were. So sometimes, rather than gold, this might say silver, this might say bronze, and that's why at times you may see people playing on silver or bronze, even if they would typically go on a higher difficulty than that. So, the Andromeda points, once upon a time, I think you could purchase with real-world money. Nowadays, I don't even know if that's possible anymore, but for some people, depending on what version of the game you got, you may have been given a bundle of Andromeda points at the very beginning. It might technically come from one of the DLCs. So basically, you can cash them in as an alternative way to get packs, ones that you would otherwise be purchasing with credits. The mission funds, those are a little bit different. So there's a finite number of those that you can get in any given day. Unlike credits where you can just farm match after match and there's an unlimited number you could get, just play more matches, play higher difficulties, you can always get more. The mission funds, the only ways that you can get mission funds are from doing the strike teams missions. So if you remember from, I don't know if you've done the campaign, but the teams that you send out that technically you may think of from the campaign, those contribute toward multiplayer. It's usually 5 points for finishing a standard strike teams mission, but the Apex missions, which you have the choice of either sending an NPC strike team for, or you can play it yourself, those give you 10 mission funds the first time that you complete them. So you can do them multiple times, but you're only able to get 10 points per Apex mission per day. So, like, for example, if we do the bronze Apex here, we get 10. We do the silver Apex here, we get another 10. Do the gold Apex, we did that earlier. That gives us 10. If we were to do this again, we would not get any additional mission funds. We've already gotten all the mission funds we're allowed to get from this today. And then the plat Apex is actually worth 15. So there's that. And then the other thing is these dailies here give you mission funds. Again, you can only complete them once per day, but they're 30 each. So that amounts to, if you do absolutely everything, it's a maximum of 135 mission funds per day. If you go to the store, under the packs page, everything here costs credits or the Andromeda points we were talking about a minute ago. But if you go to the items store, all of these things you can only purchase with mission funds. So that includes... Start from the bottom, I guess. That includes basic consumables like ammo packs, missiles, revives, heals, that stuff. Also can give you some XP boosters, can give you character respec cards, can give you... These rotate, in some cases, between weapon mods, characters, and weapons themselves of the 4 rarity categories. Common, uncommon, rare, and ultra rare. So generally, I would argue that the big thing that you can do is you save up a bunch of mission funds to get guaranteed ultra rares. Ideally, you wait for this to say ultra rare weapon as it does today, because there are far more ultra rare weapons than there are ultra rare characters, so it takes a lot longer to max out the weapons than it does to max out the characters. Then on top of that, there are some of the gear bonuses. Is that what they're called in Andromeda as well, or is that just ME2? Or rather, ME3. The equipment bonus here. These you can only get from the shop with mission funds. You can't ever get these from credits. So, slightly different, the types of things you can get, or at least the way in which you get them, because in that case, for the ultra rare weapons or ultra rare characters, you're guaranteed to get one with mission funds, unlike with the packs that you purchase with credits, where it's totally random. You might get 0, you might get a ton of good stuff. So overall it's slower with mission funds, but it is more consistent, and you can potentially do both if you're diligent about not just doing random missions, but making a point of doing stuff that counts toward dailies and or Apex missions. So that's when I was saying earlier that I've played a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer over the past 3 years. That was, by and large, farming up those mission fund sources, and then beyond that, doing some stuff for just pure credits as well. The thing about the weapons is that, generally speaking, there's a pretty huge difference between how powerful each of the rarities are. there are a few outliers, a few weapons that are significantly stronger than the others in their given rarity category. Generally speaking, getting yourself an ultra rare weapon or two, even at low levels,
3 more to go.
is a pretty big step. Then you can much more easily get by for a while and obviously farm up more credits and mission funds more quickly, efficiently, easily, so that you
Enemies heading
can
your way.
accelerate the rate at which you get all that stuff. And yes, you are correct. The weapon that I'm currently using, PAW, or the PAW, it's like Particle Accelerator Weapon or something like that, is technically, I think, what it's supposed to be short for, is unbelievably busted. So it is generally regarded as the best weapon in the game by most metrics. There are very few reasons not to use it once you have it, other than just if you are someone who is keen on not using the thing that is very overused and overpowered on that premise. Like on this character, I have it. Use it there, obviously, but
Sensors
try
clear for
to
now. Great shooting.
mix it up a fair bit between the weapon and our flamethrower. The Rieger, I mean, on ME3, the Rieger is arguably the strongest weapon in the game,
Triangulating our nearest outpost.
but
Find their sensor
it does
arrays and
exist
get
in
them moving.
Andromeda. It's decent. It's not the same caliber as it is in ME3. It's good enough that I do see some people using it. I have used it myself.
One device down.
Although I, for the most part, just used it long enough to get the challenge for it completed and then moved on. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Rieger in ME3, in large part for that reason. I'm not a huge fan of just how overused it is, and also in part because it's
Hang in there,
bugged
Apex.
in a way that makes it do more damage than it's supposed to do in ME3, which I not particularly like.
All enemy devices are now offline. Squad member down.
Yeah, it's decent in Andromeda. It's not the best shotgun, and it's certainly not the best weapon overall. But if you lack decent shotguns, then there's a world in which it could be someone's go-to.
Sensors clear for now. Great shooting.
And it's not like it's so weak that you'd be crazy for experimenting with it or anything like that. Shotguns in general, I would say, are stronger in ME3 than they are in Andromeda. Might be a few exceptions here or there, but generally speaking, I think that is the case. Yeah, and like there are, just because it's overused doesn't mean it's not still fun. Or for the Rieger, I'm not necessarily sure I would make that argument, but for other things, certainly would. Like, you know, there are some people who say that Flamer is overpowered and therefore people should be ashamed of using it, or at least, oh, it's cheesy. I'm a big fan of it,
Tracking
and
reinforcements.
I think it's stronger in ME3 than it is in Andromeda, but I'm a fan of it in both. I mean, just firing a flamethrower is pretty fun. It's pretty cool, right? So, like it from that standpoint. It is strong, and that does certainly help. I also kind of like the rhythm of it to an extent. Playstyle of it, where it does do really good damage, but it strongly prefers to be hitting either health or armor, so it's not like you can just completely mindlessly aim it at everything. Ideally, you are making a point of shooting down the shield/barriers or using some other power. That's 4-blade. To each their own. Try not to, shame people for using what they want to use, unless sometimes the Rieger crosses the line in that regard, I think. Which is why I hesitate a little bit to include that on the list of things that
Don't get 'em.
that I would still say, yeah, just go for it. Again, I think the bug has a lot to do with it.
Sensors clear for now.
Depends how much people are truly leaning into the cheese.
Intelligence needs data from your location. Look for an entry point.
Yeah, I mean, Crusader that's arguably the best weapon in the game as well. With the Rieger, you can always make the argument that it's very range limited, and so it's doing absolutely nothing at long range, and that's just an objective fact. It only goes so far. Even if its damage at close range can be incredible. Whereas Crusader is far more flexible,
Teammate injured.
range-wise. It's very heavy. It does make it hard to combine with power builds, as we were talking about earlier. Some weapons that definitely tend to cater better to that playstyle than others. Crusader is one of those weapons that,
Data received.
if I have it,
Squad member down.
yes, you can still be a power build, but I find at that point usually just committing to go 100% weapons platform approach, or if it's a powers-based character, it's going to be using powers that don't have cooldowns, like grenades.
Squad member down. Three more to go.
Ooh, never mind. I was about to say, if he jumps back up as soon as I jump down to get him, I'm not going to be pleased.
Enemies down. Keep your guard up.
Yeah, Crusader has the range and it has perfect accuracy. And still very good damage. And it
Get to the
does it
extraction
have
zone.
built-in piercing? I always forget if it does. But there are a lot of things that the Crusader can do, so there are probably some who would argue that the Crusader is something they're not thrilled about using because they think that is kind of unfairly overpowered. And I can see the argument. We were talking about the Harrier earlier. There are definitely some people who feel that way about the Harrier.
Ammo, please.
So, as I said, it's all kind of a matter of personal preference and opinion, but generally try to give people the benefit of the doubt and just let them go with what they want to go with, unless it's something truly egregious, like every single person in the lobby using Juker, AIU, incendiary rounds. Then, alright, maybe that's a little too far at that point. And I do like when someone finds a way to put a relatively underused, unpopular setup when someone can find a way to make that work, I think that's pretty cool. Oh, it is very much time to go.
Get to cover.
Grenade!
Mission complete. Full team secured. Good work.
Yeah, use stuff like the Kishok, which off-host is very tricky, though it can still work. And when it does, the damage is pretty incredible and the physics are just unbelievable, so I'd put that on the long list, but the list of weapons that, when used well, can be really, really powerful and really fun. GG. And that one, I believe, could have given you the completion for both of the prestige dailies. Oops. Gold waves and magma waves. Golden magma. That being said, I will probably take it off of this map now just for variety's sake. Maybe I'll make it a random enemy as well. Go with you instead. Alright, I think I'm good whenever you are. One thing you could do is, given how, if you're going to use this Batarian Vanguard here, given how he's level 1, if you have any of the XP boosters, you could use one. Level up more quickly. I believe that is correct, that the Kishok can technically be the highest damage weapon in the game, but part of that damage is damage over time. So you might need to factor in the total damage before it outdoes the Javelin, but I believe you may be correct. Which I think is pretty cool. Oh, nice! Congratulations, then. Well, good to have you in. Thanks for stopping by. We did get a bit of a late start today, so, you know, under ideal circumstances, we would have began a little bit earlier. Maybe it would have made it a little bit easier to have people stick around for a while longer, but good to get you in. Glad you managed to check off some of those missions, and in doing so, get the credits to get a nice new shiny Batarian Vanguard. Big W's. Nice. Some might say, time to celebrate. And you will get that reference once you play that character. Oh no. Not this. We take it over to a random map and this is how the game punishes us? Not like this. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Enemy forces. Let's do it.
And the multiplayer for both this and for ME3 still lots of fun. Personally, I'm that is not the same skill that it used to be. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of definitely a bigger fan of the ME3 multiplayer than the Andromeda multiplayer. It is, though fortunately it is still running on the original ME3. I agree that it was a missed opportunity, 100%. I did hear some, I don't know if they ever actually came from EA or if they were just rumors, but I did hear, I would call some pretty lame excuses why they did not add it into Legendary Edition.
Ammo's dry.
Wait a second. The Saber is not an N7 weapon. I feel the need to inform this individual of this fact. It is a great weapon, one that I enjoy using, but I do not believe it is N7. It is ultra-rare rarity, which is usually marked with an N7 icon, but the name is... I don't remember what the number is in front of it. It's not N7, though. Name and number? Going Savoa? They are. Yeah. Say, there's a bunch of explosions happening around me. Oh, that's what the source was. I think the original ME3 might be on sale, at least on Steam. The summer sale. I don't know if that's still going.
All clear for now.
But it might be a fraction of its usual price, so if you were thinking about it, but hesitant
Data on the Scourge. Upload it before they lock us
by Legendary Edition plus the original, they have not yet done so. Theoretically, yeah, I think it might be, like, somewhere around there. Maybe even less. Which, as someone who played the trilogy originally on PlayStation and bought Legendary Edition to replay the trilogy, and therefore bought the base version of the game exclusively for ME3 multiplayer and has since spent countless hours playing it, I would argue that is definitely worthwhile, but obviously that is your decision to make. Excuse me. Please do not dodge my double incinerates. Legendary Edition, you have it and it's goated. Well, okay, well now I have to ask then. Of the 3 games in the original trilogy, which one is your favorite? And I guess maybe another question is, did you play the games before Legendary Edition, or was Legendary Edition your first experience with them?
Teammate injured.
On release. ME3, but ME1 mods have been great as well.
3 left. Go get them.
I still think that ME2 is the most common answer,
Good. Stay sharp.
but at least for me, I really like the story the most and the character development the most for ME1. The world building, ME1. And I think that in general, those are some of the greatest strengths of the series overall. I also like having more character customization options. So for that reason, I disliked how dramatically they simplified the character build process for your powers and weapons in ME2. So ME1 is my favorite. ME3 is probably my second favorite, and then ME2 is probably my least favorite, which I think puts me pretty firmly in the minority. But I like them all. I love them all, of course. ME1 is, I would say, tied for my favorite game of all time.
All clear for now.
Or Mass Effect overall, if you bundle at least the trilogy. Andromeda, yes, obviously we're playing it now, but as I was saying, I think I definitely prefer the ME3 multiplayer to the Andromeda multiplayer, and certainly the campaign, of course, is better in the original trilogy than it is in Andromeda by a pretty wide margin at that, I would argue. At least in my personal opinion.
Shields are out.
Enemy tech shut down.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, obviously Andromeda is a newer game than any of the original trilogy games were. Oh, it's not even the last one. Obviously Andromeda is newer, so it looks better.
Hang in there, Apex.
It's more three-dimensional than any of the original trilogy games were. However, every time, as people who have been hanging around in chat for a bunch of previous streams may be able to attest to, anytime someone says that they like Andromeda a lot for the gameplay, I do always need to raise the point. Andromeda is by far the buggiest of all the games from a gameplay standpoint. And
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
in several ways, in some absolutely egregious ways. And there are also just some things that technically aren't bugs, but are just absolutely abhorrent design decisions,
Clear for now.
combat and gameplay-wise, in Andromeda. Things that, for not to be a gaming elitist here,
Extraction zone.
but for those who don't play it as often or on as high difficulties, pushing the limits of the game, or just playing hundreds, if not thousands of hours into the game, obviously, the more you push those limits, the more you see those types of things pop up, and the more they matter. Because on Bronze, if an enemy bugs out and does more damage than it's supposed to do, or snipes you from the entire length of the map as soon as the wave starts,
Watch my damn shield!
you're probably more likely to be able to bounce back. But if you are, say, on this map, on the Flat Apex mission, and it's 1 life to live, the moment the wave starts, you're standing here, and a Blaze Hydra on the exact opposite end of the map immediately locks on with heat-seeking missiles. You cloak and dodge, and yet it still hits you, instantly kills you, and you fail the mission for this reason. Those are the kinds of things that make me very frustrated. Because that just feels like a blatant game design mistake. The likes of which I am not quick to forgive. So, for that reason, and many others like it, I do feel the need to refute at times when people say that Andromeda is better than people give it credit for because of the gameplay. Yes, in ways. However, it is also far worse than many people realize for gameplay reasons that perhaps they are just not as familiar with.
Everyone get
Yeah, and of course it begs the question, what's going to happen
Down, everyone standing.
in the
Drinks
next
are on me.
Mass Effect game, although, I mean, for a long time, it did not seem as though there was going to be a next Mass Effect game in some ways, so still, I'll believe it when I see it. Maybe that's it. Or maybe I'm just mad that the Audi grabs take priority over any and every other animation in the game, including if you are doing things that have you in mid-air when they try to grab you, and therefore they teleport you back onto the ground in order to get you stuck, or grab you through walls to do that, and, you know, things along those lines. Enemies, saboteurs using energy drain, not hitting any of the players and yet still getting shields back. Hydra missiles ignoring cover and damaging you anyway, even though you should have been protected. You may be noticing that every example that I've just given regards enemies of the Outlaw faction. That is not a coincidence. There are other issues with other enemies in other categories, but as I've said many times before, there's maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 Outlaw enemies that do not have any blatantly egregious design issues / bugs, and that's pretty bad. Everyone else does. At least one. Yeah, I mean, to me, it kind of seems like some of the intrigue of the Andromeda combat is surface level. It's maybe... It's not entirely the point that I'm making, but it's to an extent the point that I'm making, kind of, sort of. So yeah, you have things like jetpacks that at first glance look like, oh, that's totally different. The game must be so much more dynamic, and it is to an extent, but in terms of the balance of the gameplay as well, it is far worse than Mass Effect 3 was. Let's see. So this is the N7 Saber person. Also, the Saber does not exist in Andromeda, at least not in the multiplayer. So I regret to inform them, their namesake is not here. Yeah, I mean, the jetpack I don't really have any major gripes with. More so just that it's not a huge game changer. My main gripe with it... So basically, I guess I'm just saying, maybe it's overrated. But yeah, it's cool. You can... It's actually weird when I have the scope, but this one where I don't have the scope, a little more obvious. You can hover as your unit. That, on rare occasions, can have some beneficial... some benefits to it. Trying to line up a shot. Hover in the air as you're doing it, or charging up a frag grenade. Trying to get the timing and angle correct. Help with that sometimes as well. But yeah, I mean, there are 3 dimensions, even in ME3 multiplayer, just that generally you're climbing up ladders to change the elevation. That's very nearly that way. So in a way, it's kind of just a shortcut. A smoother and faster way, but ultimately to do something that could still be done in ME3. So, in fact, I don't know that it's actually changing as much as people might assume / think at first glance that it would.
Teammate injured.
I do wish that the jetpack ground pound dealt more damage. In terms of actual direct gripes, that's the thing that I would want to change. And that's very minor. Personal preference type of gripe. It's not something that is objectively wrong, per se. Although, actually, I think it doesn't benefit from melee damage multipliers, which that probably is something you could argue is actually just outright wrong. But I think, you know, that... Sure, make that do some damage. The bigger jump, bigger ground pound, make that do more damage. And then if we're going from the highest heights, give us even more damage on the ground pound. Give us reason.
All enemies clear. Keep it up.
Give us incentive to do big ground pounds. Make it feel more worthwhile.
Enemies incoming.
I'm sorry, Ralph. Did I ruin it? It's not to rain on people's parades. I'm just saying, if you take a closer, and I might argue, I mean, obviously, all this stuff is subjective, so it's hard to say that anything is objective point of view. That objective and point of view is kind of an oxymoron. So, but I would argue perhaps Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay is not as much of an improvement as people think it is when you consider the things that people tend to highlight about it, and then especially if you consider all the oft overlooked or just not commonly understood gimmicks and bugs and whatnot the Andromeda gameplay. But I do think it is overrated overall. Looks like the grapple hook, you were saying. Yeah. That's an interest. I didn't really think of it that way. That's an interesting perspective. Let's see what you're saying there. And I remember there was a time when, of course, back in my day, it's not even that long ago, but there was a time when games were generally far more two-dimensional, and yeah, maybe you had ladders and staircases to change elevations, maybe you had a basic jump, but there weren't many games with more elaborate and sophisticated movement schemes.
Take them out.
But then, when there was sort of a wave of popularity for the grappling hook, and when people first started adding it to games, everyone was going crazy about them. Like, oh my goodness, this is the greatest idea anyone has ever come up with. Why didn't we start doing this before? Everyone has to do this now. And it's kind of become a thing of the past now. I don't know that it necessarily stood the test of time. There are still some games that have them, and some that probably have put more time and effort into making them look and feel and play in a more interesting way. Like what, Just Cause? I don't remember when the last one of those came out, but I think that was a game that put a lot of emphasis into the grappling hook. It might have been more interesting in Just Cause than it was in some other games. Yeah, and I don't know, I guess movement maybe is something that just... The way that games handle movement is just something that has been very hard for people to iterate on, improve upon, I should say. So it kind of just seems like, yeah, you'll have waves, you'll have periods of time in which seemingly everyone is trying the same thing, or experimenting with the same type of new movement mechanics. As I said, you know, first, maybe it's truly two-dimensional, or it's just a basic jump and double jump, or at ladders / stairs. But then you had the grappling hook phase, then you had the jetpack phase, but it doesn't... It's just a hard thing to truly innovate.
Be ready.
And then, yeah, maybe you have some games that experimented with some of those things that
Hostiles en route.
looked promising, but it just never quite caught on with players, or the developers may not quite have executed the way that people had anticipated. Titanfall. I never played myself, but I remember that when Titanfall was first coming out, or just before it came out, it got a lot of press. It got a lot of attention. People had very high expectations for that game. And they did end up making, what, at least one sequel. I don't remember if they did more than one. Oh, I meant to dodge out of that nullifier. Then we wouldn't have gotten hit by any of the other stuff, because we wouldn't have been staggered.
Thanks.
All a domino.
Shields are out. Bombs away.
Yeah, I don't know, does building your own walls and staircases, does that now qualify as its own new category of movement? Is that the current phase we find ourselves in?
Shields are out.
Not a great place to stand. I thought I pressed the cloak button.
Squad member down.
Apparently I did not.
I got you. Shields are out.
This is still not a good place to be
Teammate
standing.
injured.
This has not changed. Oh
I'm
my
reading a
goodness.
flat line.
I want to be in cover. I want to be taking out that turret, which is now on a sliver of health. And then it's
I owe you.
not doing that damage. And everything is fine. Little margins getting wrong here.
Just 3 hostiles remaining. Nice job, Apex. Keep it going.
Press Y to open your SAM and build Remtech stairs. Please, no.
Hostiles en route.
I mean, that's true in a way. In a way, the Omni tool does kind of give you a lore accurate way to say that yes, the character should be able to do that kind of thing. So I kind of hate it that it's, you know, in a way just sort of
Lost my damn shield.
an excuse for taking the Fortnite approach, but technically speaking, I suppose there is a valid reason for saying that it does make some sense
God, they're tight.
for Mass Effect. Maybe you do have a point,
Teammate injured.
even if I don't like it. Looks like someone else is trying to get us to win the flat apex. May end up doing after this. See? Definitely has been a much longer match. Now that is in part because we were duoing it up for a while. Probably could have been a little more aggressive with our approach as well, though. Or some of those waves in which we was getting completely surrounded. Maybe we could have handled those in a different way. Better both offensively and defensively.
I'm reading a flat line.
Oh, you're right here.
Nice save.
Mass Effect and Resident Evil. I've never played a Resident Evil game. Actually, I've played part of. Not finished, but once upon a time, I played a little bit of Devil May Cry. Lids. That's not a Resident Evil game. Actually, technically, it
Recovery
kind of
requested.
is.
Locate and recover objects of interest.
First one, at least, was, I think, originally intended to be a Resident Evil game. And I forget what the whole story is, but
Artifact
Drop my
recovered.
damn shield!
something ultimately made them choose to take in a different direction. I think it was originally being made as the next Resident Evil game, and then something made the game start going in a different enough direction that they thought, you know what? Let's call this something different. And we'll embrace going in that other
Artifact
direction.
recovered. I'm reading a flat
And yeah, so it is developed by the same company. It ultimately was put in different universes, I think. But in an alternate universe,
Hang in there, Apex.
Devil May Cry doesn't
Reading a
exist,
flat line.
and instead it just led to more Resident Evil games. I don't know, I read about this like 5 or 10 years ago, so I don't remember the details very well, but something along those lines. You are
Squad member
a
down.
Resident Evil and or a Devil May Cry fan. There is some stuff for you to check out there, I think. Might be a bit of an interesting history.
Last drop received. All artifacts secured.
Destroyer!
No, that's fair, that's fair. You may very well know more about it than I, or at least remember
Down. Keep your guard.
more of it than I do at this stage. Wouldn't doubt it.
Shields are out!
Good. Stay sharp.
I wonder if they planned for Leon to have a devil trigger, or if that came after the realization they weren't developing Resident Evil game anymore. I mean, you can kind of see there are some ways in which the themes do overlap. Right. Resident Evil came several years before DMC, so I believe DMC originally was intended, the first DMC was originally intended to be the next Resident Evil game. I don't remember exactly
Reading a flat line.
what number / place in the series it would have ended up being.
I'm reading a flat line.
Certainly not the first. Sequel of some variety. It was not originally
Teammate injured.
being created with the intention of being the start of a new series, I believe.
Shields down. Live fire.
Oh, don't do that.
Squad member down.
Oh dear. Oh, don't do that again. One moment while I accidentally hop off the map twice in a row,
That's how
about
we
5 seconds
get it
before
done. Come on,
extraction. It was an early build for a Resident Evil 4, but it ultimately became its own thing. There you go. Okay, so yeah. That's the history. Thank you. That would be I would be curious to see. Obviously, Resident Evil, very successful, long-running franchise. Same could be said for Devil May Cry, to a lesser extent, probably, but that'd be cool to see if there was an example of... One second, let's see if we can get into the flat apex that the other person was telling us about. See if there's still room there. Their lobby might be private. This person, I think, was also trying to invite us into a lobby. It was not the person who messaged us after the fact. Yeah, DMC has had a rocky history at times. But to be honest, not especially keen on doing another duo flat glass jaw. As much as this person was, part of me feels guilty for, or feels bad for leaving them there all by themselves. Well, they initiated that of their own accord. But anyways, where I was starting to go with that conversation was, I think it'd be interesting to see if you looked at basically a chain of games. The longest chain of games you could think of, where you have one game that started as its own franchise. They were planning to create a sequel to that game, but it ultimately turned into its own franchise. So then you look at that franchise and you see, okay, was there any point in time where they were trying to make a sequel for that, and that turned into a new franchise instead? How many layers can you go there? And my first thought is something like Super Mario, which are technically, oh, hold on, no, not Super Mario, Donkey Kong, then Super Mario, then, I mean, obviously there are many directions in which Nintendo branched off from there. You'd probably get into the somewhat arbitrary and very hard to verify territory where, yes, there are many characters who make appearances in Super Mario Bros., but to what extent were other spin-off games actually originally intended to be Mario games, or were they always originally intended to be Yoshi's Island? I don't know, does Super Mario Sunshine even count as something different, or is that still within the same umbrella? It might. But then you have the likes of Mario Kart, Mario Party, Does that count? I mean, surely Mario Party was never Luigi's Mansion. Like, there are all these various spin-offs, but if we're truly trying to say games that originally were being developed with the intention of being part of the same franchise, that only mid-development did the developer decide for them to branch off into a different franchise. If we're being strict with that definition, I feel like that might disqualify a bunch of Nintendo stuff. Alright, let's see if we can get in for at least one more match here. I think this person was also trying to invite us, but we are not seemingly going to load in properly for this one. Let's try Plat one more time, just because there's at least one, potentially two people trying to invite us for this. Nintendo, the MC. Oh, Smash Bros, duh. Talk about MCU. That one feels very MCU-like for me, because that one is very much with the intention of assembling a squad of characters from other franchises that usually would not overlap. But again, in that case, I think, in all likelihood, that was probably never being developed with the intention of it being a standard Super Mario Bros. Franchise game. I have to think that the intention was always for that to be its own separate category, its own separate franchise, because it's really just a different genre altogether. Let's try this one more time. Oh, we're not loading into this one either. Okay, let's try the trick we were doing before. Exiting out of the multiplayer and rejoining. See if that enables us to join any of these people. That's a good example. Arma into DayZ, and then did that turn into PUBG as well? I think it did, didn't it? So that's 3 in that case. Did anything end up spinning off from DMC that was a totally separate franchise? Or is it just Resident Evil into DMC and it stops there? Because otherwise, at least as it currently stands, Arma with 3 has taken the cake. Warcraft 3 in Dota and WoW. Okay, now this is where I'm going to make a fool of myself a bit. Warcraft 3 and WoW are totally distinct, like completely different franchises slash games. So in my head, those two, I was not distinguishing between them much, if at all. If you had not differentiated between them there, and you had asked me, are World of Warcraft and Warcraft 3 different games? I'm not sure that I would have been able to answer that question. Warcraft 3 was an RTS. World of Warcraft is the MOBA, but Warcraft 3 was an RTS? And then we might be getting into the hard to distinguish slash differentiate territory now of, well, there are similarities, but were they intended to be totally different franchises from the onset? I really don't know. So, if you say it was originally intended to be a Warcraft sequel, then I do not have any additional information to refute that, I suppose. Wait, what? Roblox and Fortnite? Those are related? Did not know that. If in fact that is the case. What is the origin of the MOBA genre, pretty much? Okay, I think I remember Dota and Warcraft being related, yes. It is more so the Warcraft versus WoW thing. I think Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, I suppose. Warcraft as an RTS. Oh, clearly you can tell I never played. And I did not realize that there was a Warcraft RTS.
One straggler.
I just thought that they were all MOBAs. Or not MOBA, Dota is the MOBA. No, sorry. MMORPGs. World of Warcraft is the MMORPG. Dota is the MOBA. But it's Warcraft 3 being an RTS. That's the one that I didn't know. In my head, any Warcraft games that preceded WoW were also MMORPGs, which apparently was not true, but as I was just saying, I did not play them, and clearly did not have any experience with them in any way, and just made a simplifying assumption that was not correct. Maybe I didn't even realize there was a Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, and just assumed that it was WoW and only WoW. I feel like I just thought of another one as well. It was MOBA or MOBA-esque thing. I don't remember which one. Then here's a... Is this a deep pull? Is this even true? I think it's true, in which case it might be a little bit of a deep pull. Is it Sanctum and Goat Simulator? Look, I'm sorry, man. I was never a WoW person, I guess. Right, and WoW is World of Warcraft. I just didn't realize that there was a World of Warcraft and there was also Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. I think I just kind of assumed it was World of Warcraft was the one and only Warcraft, and that it was running for that entire time. Do we count? And then, you know, you can go back to... Is Pong technically the very first game? Obviously, it's super early, but I feel like there might have been one or two things that were actually slightly earlier than that. But I mean, yeah, if you want to make that argument, then, you know, just start with insert earliest game here. But even then, I don't even think that's necessarily the case. It's not as if someone created Pong and then every subsequent... It's not as if someone made Pong and then the only thing that people wanted to make at that next stage was, oh, it has to be Pong 2. Oh, oops, we made Space Invaders. I imagine that was intended as a distinct game. I mean, what is the... oh, everything is dig, right? Oh, it's just dig without the first turn, where you don't take damage. Oh, it's just dig, except you don't deal damage. Oh, it's dig, except you don't avoid taking damage the first turn, you don't deal damage the second turn, instead you get stronger. Everything is Pong. It's just Pong without the ball. It's just Pong without the paddle. It's just Pong without you playing against an opponent. You know,
Hostile territory, people. Secure this position and stay sharp.
at the end of the day,
Anyone else
they're all
nervous?
just atoms.
Just me?
Or subatomic particles, right? So really, everything is just a deviation from that, isn't it? Derivation. I need to remind myself what my new powers are. Did just change characters. Not play this character for a while. Everything is edible because it's made of circles. You're gonna have to talk me through that one. I think you lost me there. Not sure I follow you. Oop. Now we're asking the serious questions. Food is made of atoms, and so are rocks.
I'm on my way.
Why not both eaten, you know? Maybe he has a point. If not food,
Just 3 hostiles
then
remain.
why food shaped? Kids, don't try this at home.
That hurt.
Our lawyers tell you not to eat rocks.
Go us!
Enemies headed your way.
Let's run!
Our lawyers made us change the name of the song so we didn't get sued. Oh, is it so we wouldn't get sued? Look, you're right. As soon as I said it, I knew that I misspoke. If you know, you know. Lids, did you just reference a random Fallout Boy song from, like, 25 years ago? Possibly.
They're firing! Get safe!
3 left. Go get them.
So if you had the core of the sun as a stomach, break down the atoms into more useful ones, go about everyday life. The sun as a stomach. Saren was right. Fusion is the
All clear for
answer.
now. Enemies triangulating our nearest outpost. Find their sensor arrays and get them broken.
Yeah, well, you know what they say. Plutonium is like,
Enemy tech
what,
shut down.
millions of calories? It's just more efficient to eat that. Okay, no. Kids, don't eat heavy metals. Don't eat radioactive metals. Don't eat whatever category any of those things that I just mentioned actually fall under.
They're shooting!
These comments were made in jest and were not intended to be actual recommendations for a person's diet. Therefore, Lids Vids will not be held liable should someone be crazy enough to actually eat some of these things. Oh, I also just attempted to press the cloak button. I forgot I'm not an infiltrator. Needless to say, I did not turn invisible.
Thanks!
But I've been playing a lot of infiltrators today. I was saying I needed to remember what powers I had on this character. I also need to remember which powers I don't have, apparently.
They're shooting!
3 left. Go get them. Nice job, Apex. Keep it going.
That was great!
Hostiles en route.
Find a new spot!
Oh dear. His new TB12 system.
Get safe!
Someone get Alex Gonzalez. One person may get that reference.
My shield
Was that his name? I'm pretty sure that was.
They're firing!
Oops. What I get for reading chat as I'm in the middle of finding stuff. Did you know that if Lids tries to read chat as his character is moving in-game, he will probably walk off the edge of the map? In other words, did you know your head could explode by simply listening?
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
Oh no.
We're down to 1.
No, do not eat
Clear for
gasoline.
now.
That was great!
Even if it's high in fiber.
Find a new spot!
Or drink it. Not consume it. That dude had a rough day.
We're down to 1.
Enemies down.
Drinking straight
Keep your guard
vegetable oil
That was
or
great!
olive oil. Yeah, I mean, it's olive oil's a type of vegetable oil. Well, you mean you aren't trying to maximize your
Intercept the Kentland
daily
genetic
caloric
survey
intake
devices
by
in your area. Let's
consuming the
find
most
enemy.
calorically dense foods and drinks possible?
One device down.
Now, the Tom Brady the Alex Gonzalez thing is very obscure reference. So yes, that is, to be fair, that is probably a US specific
Enemy
thing.
tech shut
It's a New England specific thing. Even then, an obscure one at that.
Yikes! An ascendant!
Teammate injured.
I'm on my way.
You know, I guess that does make sense.
Teammate injured.
Oh. It is very calorically dense.
I'm reading a flat line.
Thanks.
All enemy devices are now offline. Teammate injured.
Almost there. Get safe.
3 left. Go get them.
Last one.
All clear for now.
Go us.
You want to get exalted by the cat?
Time to go.
I
Get
don't
to the
know about
extraction
that.
site.
Never really understood the use case for barricade, given how mobile, how fast-paced things are in Andromeda. I do use it. I'm not really using it right now because we're on silver, but it's an emergency button, basically, a defensive emergency button. I have it spec'd for maximizing shield restoration. So basically, as soon as we drop it, we will start regenerating shields almost immediately and get back-to-back shields very quickly as well. So given how, for the most part, we can take out enemies before they're going to pose much of a threat to us on silver, it's not really necessary. You can also use it to protect you when you're doing objectives like the devices, which on gold or certainly platinum I would have made more of a deliberate point of doing. Again, I'm just
Get safe.
not bothering on the lower difficulty / perhaps been a little sidetracked with some of our conversations. Perhaps haven't been paying the closest attention to playing this match in the most optimal way possible. Though that concussive shot was pretty optimal. Yeah, an emergency shield restoration, a way to more safely do objectives, and also if you find yourself in a place where it may not be an emergency, but for whatever reason you want to hunker down, not have to worry about taking damage,
Mission complete. Full team secured.
then you
Good
can
work.
at least protect yourself from one angle with the barricade. There is also the fundamentally different approach of using the barricade with the upgrade that has it prime enemies for tech combos, so it becomes an offensive tool. I haven't used that much, but on the rare occasion that I have, I've just found that that tends to be pretty awkward. It takes a fair bit of effort to actually get the enemies to come close enough for that to work. So I just think that's more trouble than it's worth. Right. Okay, no, but here's the real question. What is the caloric density of a barricade? I think that's the real question. Pretty high. Light is the source. Or doesn't have any calories at all in that case. What is the barricade actually made of? Do we know? Is it Omni Gel? It's coming from the Omni tool, is it not? In which case, I would guess that is pretty calorically dense. Alright, I'm thinking it probably makes sense for that to be our last match of the night. We've been going pretty long and it's starting to get pretty late, and I'm concerned about where this conversation may continue to be headed. I suppose we can stop by the shop, and although we don't have anything that we are in dire need of, we could still benefit from picking up some more consumables. I think most Omni constructions are plasma wrapped in flash-forged metallic sheets. Well, then it's definitely calorically dense in that case. Does a Geth AI contain calories? Well, what are we defining as the Geth AI? Are we talking strictly software? I don't know, I'm not an expert on this, but couldn't one argue that it's... Even if it's just the software we're talking about, that software can't really exist without the presence of some kind of hardware to house that software? Or if it thinks, therefore it is the software enough? Did I just prove that AI is alive? Possibly. Oops. I'm sorry. Descartes did it, not me. Glowing orange light, I think, is meant to be a warning not to touch it because it's like 1,000 degrees. I see no problem with this. Well, what you're saying is that it's well cooked. No! No! All part of a well-balanced breakfast, right? It's magically delicious. No TM. No, that's okay. I recognize that. That was a parody. That was a parody. Don't get mad at me. What is it, Lucky Charms? I didn't mean it, okay? Alright, well, as I was saying, I think perhaps it's best if we cut ourselves off at this point. Feel like we're getting a little loopy at this rate. But GG's, thanks for stopping by, and thank you everybody who's been hanging out tonight. This was, of course, our Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer stream. If this conversation has made you hungry, then I am concerned. I will remind you that none of the conversations that we were having today are recommendations for your diet. Please consult your physician if you have questions about what you should be eating for your diet. Anyways, this was our Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer stream. As for our streaming schedule, that is technically, it's a little bit subject to change nowadays because we are kind of still trying to fit 4 games into 3 nights, and occasionally, because the math doesn't check out there, we're carving out a 4th night, but that's not the easiest thing to do on a consistent basis. So Thursdays/Fridays, we're doing at times, some combination of Path of Exile 2 and this, Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. Then on Saturdays, we're doing Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. And then on Sundays, we are doing Pyre multiplayer. And if you liked the stream, then of course you can hit the like button. That appreciate the support in that way. Likewise with the subscribe button. That also helps you stay up to date on what we are doing. But actually the best way to stay up to date with all things lids is by joining my Discord, as I headbutt the microphone for like the 5th time tonight. But that is the link for the Discord. So thank you all for stopping by. That is going to be it for me for tonight. I'll catch you next time.